What is going on, my fellow Omi homies? It's Foster, and I'm back at it again with another VeVe and Ecomi video. Guys, I know it's been quite a while since my last video. I do apologize for that. I've been busy in the back end dealing with personal life, but I look forward to getting back into the grind and making content for each and every one of you. Something that I wanted to talk about today that I think is going to be very enlightening for the community is the concept of MTL and Cash Out. It's something that I've seen talked about for quite a while in the community, and I have given my thoughts on social media, but I wanted to actually run the numbers today and see what it would look like once we actually have MTL in full effect for everyone. And once it's available, what could we see the impact be on VeVe's bottom end? Two of the main questions that I do see come up in the community quite regularly is, does VeVe have the money to cover cash out when it is fully implemented? And why is there a 10% MTL fee for people to be able to cash out? Many people feel as though that's quite high. And I want to run some of the numbers behind it and indicate why I believe that fee likely exists, and also why I believe that that fee may disappear as certain things come into the app over time. What I've done is I've made an Excel spreadsheet, and I am going to break this down bit by bit. So for some of the OGs that have been watching my content for quite a while, you may be aware of this first part, but it doesn't hurt to have a refresher at all. It goes over how the gem tokenomics work, and I'm going to go over it briefly just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. So I've broken it down. The first section we can see here is gems purchased for drops. Gems purchased for drops are obviously gems that are used for primary market sales. For those of you that aren't aware, one gem is equal to $1 on the VeVe app. And when you buy those gems, in this instance, we're going to use $1,000. You purchase $1,000 worth of gems. 30% of that $1,000 purchase, or in this case, $300, is taken by either the Apple or Android app stores, and they take that as revenue for themselves. So when you deposit $1,000, you receive 1,000 gems, but the company balance is actually only $700 because that $300 goes to the App Store. Now, on top of that, when you use those gems for a purchase in the primary market, so on drop day, an expensive drop comes out, you buy that and you are lucky enough to get it on drop, whatever the cost of that drop is, there is also a license or revenue fee. And most recently, BC Trevor, who used to be on the team but has since moved on to other endeavors, made a post online indicating that the fee is anywhere between 30 to 50% for the licensors in the primary market. So what I've done is I've used that as a reference. We have the $210 or $350, depending on whether it's between 30 and 50%. And this is taken from the $700 that's left over in the company balance. And then I've averaged it out. So we're going to call it 40% for the video. Of course, for some licensors, it may be higher. For some licensors, it may be lower. But because we don't have that public information available to us, the only thing that we can reference is the comment that's been made by someone who was recently on the team. So those are the numbers that we're going to use. So if you were to purchase $1,000 of gems and then use all of those gems on primary market drops, VeVe would only have cash flow of $420 remaining out of that $1,000 after they've paid App Store fees and after they've paid licensor fees. This number will become apparent later, but we want to go over it to establish it. So right now, they are net positive $420. But what about gems purchased for the secondary market? So as we know, there's a primary market where you buy things directly from VeVe, but there's also a secondary market where you can do peer-to-peer trading and buy and sell collectibles that you own on the platform. So for this argument, we're going to say that you've also purchased $1,000 worth of gems. So you now have 1,000 gems, and the App Store is still taking a 30% cut or $300, and the company balance is $700. You now decide not to buy anything in the App Store. You've loaded in the money and you realize that maybe it's not the app for you. MTL is available and you do have the $1,000, which is the minimum amount that you will have at the beginning in order to be eligible for cash out. So you decide to cash out those funds. So now you have $1,000 because one gem is backed $1 on the app, but there's only $700 available for cash out in the company revenue cash flow, because they only have that $700 because they've paid 30% to the app stores. So once you cash out that $1,000, the company cash flow is actually negative $300. Now, of course, we can ramp up and extrapolate these examples because, as we know, not only one person is going to cash out, and likewise, not only one person is going to buy gems for the drops. And we get into those examples a little bit later in the video, but I think it's an important illustration where in the primary market, VeVe is doing okay, but in the secondary market, and especially if people only buy gems and then choose not to purchase any items, currently how the system works, then VeVe would actually be negative that 30% of whatever is deposited. So let's say it's $1 million worth of gems and no one buys anything. VeVe is now out 30% or $300,000 that they are responsible for making sure that users can take out once MTL is rolled out. So now we look at something that helps offset the cost, the secondary purchase burns. So as we know, there is a 2.5% fee for any transaction that takes place in the secondary market. Now there's also a 2% fee for stamps and a 6% fee for some of the Disney and Marvel items. I'm not including it in today's calculation because we can really start to skew the numbers in one direction or another. And at the end of the day, that 6% is not revenue that VeVe receives. It's money that they cash out to provide to the licensor. So that money is already accounted for. So we're not going to use it as a calculation. We're only going to use the 2.5% because that is money that VeVe actually receives. So in this same example, a user has purchased $1,000 worth of gems, like we saw up here, but they've chosen to spend $500 out of that $1,000 on a collectible that came out, the most recent Disney Golden Moments, or another drop that they liked. They've purchased that for $500. That's how much someone was selling it for in the secondary market. Well, that buyer now has a balance of 500 gems, but the seller only receives 488 gems out of that 500 gems. Now, of course, I use Disney as an example. We're not taking that 6% fee that would also be paid to Disney. We're only calculating the 2.5% fee. And of course, 2.5% of $500 is about $12.50. And they would have only $488 instead of $500. So now that 1,000 gems that was deposited into the app, someone has bought and sold something. The value of those items is still the 1,000 because the item is worth 500 and the person spent 500, but there's actually only 988 gems out of that 1,000 that are now currently in the gem circulating supply. And it gets really interesting because the more purchases that are made in the secondary market, the more that the gem circulation actually becomes deflationary. So we can see here on the gem purchase table that I've created that if you had a starting balance of $1,000 and you continually load it up to $1,000, each time the burn becomes slightly smaller for each purchase. But we can see here that with a $1,000 purchase, the $25 fee means that there's only 975 gems left. 975 gems goes to a $24 fee at the 2.5%. And you can see how when different people are spending different amounts, the gems can really start to become deflated in the app. And you can see that after 10 purchases in this model, there's only 776 gems or $776 of that 1,000 that was originally deposited that have been deflated from the circulation just due to purchasing fees. So this is revenue that VeVe is receiving, and it's gems that are being removed from the circulation, which means that it's money that VeVe does not need to put out when MTL comes out, when people are looking to withdraw their funds. So we go back down, and why is this all important? Well, we see that the 2.5% fee does have an impact on reducing the gem circulating supply, but it's not enough to offset this fee if people are just buying gems and then aren't buying any collectibles. Because if people just buy collectibles, or I'm sorry, people don't buy collectibles and just buy gems, it becomes very quickly evident that VeVe can end up in the hole, because if people just deposit money and then withdraw it, VeVe has to come up with those funds somewhere. So we look at the MTL Cash Out fee, and we're able to answer this question as to why this may exist right now. A user purchases $1,000 worth of gems. We know the 30% fee, the $300, and we know the company balance of $700. This hasn't changed at all. This is a constant throughout every purchase model that takes place in the app. So now the user has 1,000 gems and they choose to withdraw them because they don't want to purchase anything in the app. Well, what does this MTL fee allow VeVe to do? Well, it allows them to take some of that loss that they would have been sustaining and offset it. So now that person that wants to withdraw $1,000 is only going to receive $900 because of the 10% fee, which in this case is $100. And instead of the company cash flow being negative $300, which it is up here without the MTL fee, we can see now that the company cash flow is only negative $200, which is much better because it means, looking at the gem purchase table, that quite a few less transactions at 2.5% need to occur in order to offset the purchases that are being made in the app and the withdrawals that are occurring, to make sure that VeVe can remain net neutral or positive on all of the cash outs that are occurring. So we see this 10% fee. And I know that a lot of people are not very happy about it. They believe that VeVe is trying to take money or profit out of their pockets, and that VeVe themselves is trying to profit from this action. But as I've shown, or at least as I've attempted to show in this video thus far, is that VeVe is not actually trying to make money off of their customers. They just have to contend with the app stores right now, which are essentially gouging their bottom line. And in order to offset that in the interim, they need to ensure that they have a mechanism in place that when people withdraw, they are able to balance out their books and not lose as much money. And like I said at the beginning of the video, one of the reasons that I believe that this will be offset moving forward is the integration and implementation of the web app. Now, what the web app will allow users to do is to circumvent the App Store fees associated with purchasing gems. So a user in this example will purchase 1,000 gems for $1,000. I've put the web payment fee at 0. There may be a fee associated with it, but at the very most, it would be 1 to 2%. And that actually may be a cost that's passed along to the end user. So it may not come out of VeVe's pocket. Because it's not publicly available information, I've just left it as such for now, but I will update it at such a time that that information becomes available. We can now see that instead of having a company balance of $700, we now have a company balance of $1,000. So VeVe has not lost any money on the purchase of user gems, which means that every gem is truly backed one-to-one in the app without them having to offset anything with other costs. So now the user gem balance is 1,000 gems. The MTL fee is 10%, which means that the withdrawal for the user is only $900, and the company cash flow is actually net positive $100 for every $1,000 that is spent. Now, I know this will make quite a few people upset because they'll say the last thing that VeVe should be doing is making money off of us withdrawing our own funds. VeVe already makes the 2.5% fee in the secondary market. I should not be double taxed or double billed on profits that I'm looking to take from the app. And I want to make it very clear that I completely agree with each and every one of you on that. However, because the app has operated in the way that it has for as long as it has, VeVe has to be able to offset those costs in the interim until they can roll out the web app and start having people purchase gems through the web app so that they can circumvent those fees. Because that 30% no longer needs to be made up by VeVe, which means that they can implement features or bonuses for users. Maybe you get a discount for purchasing gems on the web app, or maybe you get extra gems and you get bonus gems. If you purchase a certain amount, they give you an extra 5% or 10% gems, because that's still less than the 30% that they needed to offset prior to having to deal with the app stores. So this would allow them to add in incentives and mechanisms to ensure that people are depositing their funds on the web app and circumventing these fees. And David Yu has already publicly come out and stated that they had to implement the 10% fee to ensure that they could maintain their operating costs to deal with this influx of people withdrawing when the time comes, but that if and when they are able to lower this fee, they will do so, and they will pass along all of those savings to the end consumer. So I do believe that the web app will be the thing that resolves this 10% fee. I do believe that once the web app is up and running in its entirety, we've seen it in the most recent AMA, Dan Carruthers was able to demo it, and it does look like it is very close to being rolled out. once it is rolled out, we should see the option to deposit gems on the web app, which will not only circumvent the App Store fees, but will also allow people to deposit more than 600 gems at a time. It should also allow other forms of OMI utility, such as staking, which will also be done via the web app, and it will allow OMI to NFT, which will also be coming out at some point, which will allow crypto purchases of collectibles on the application as well. The web app is something that a lot of people haven't put a lot of focus on, and it wasn't something that VeVe had talked about for a little while, but it's an extremely important catalyst, and I am very excited to see it hopefully rolling out in the near future so that we can offset this 10% fee as quickly as possible for the users that are going to have to take it. I will personally not be using the MTL. I will be waiting until OMI to NFT because I do believe there will be not only incentives, but the actual cost of withdrawing via OMI to NFT will be substantially lower, and there'll be less limitations on the amount of gems or OMI you need to have in your account and the amount that you can withdraw per week. So I'm very excited and looking forward to that. And to wrap this video up, I want to give a huge shout out to Puddin Cheeks. This is Puddin Cheeks. Make sure you guys go check him out on Twitter. He was nice enough to hop on a private call with me yesterday, go over my video with me to make sure that it all made sense. And I was able to pull up his spreadsheet that he makes on his own for free for the community. He has it linked here in his profile. And basically when you pull it up, he documents daily the amount of collectible purchases that take place in the app and the USD value and burn, the gem purchases and the equivalent OMI that it equates to, the amount of OMI that has been burned from the reserve wallet, and the total amount of gems that have been purchased on the app in its entirety, and the amount of gems that is likely circulating in the app. So we can see it up here in the top right corner. We can see that the total gems spent in store was $183 million. The total gems purchased on the app was about $315 million, and the estimated gems in app is $132 million. So what he means by estimated gems is that purchases from the primary market are burnt. So those gems that are used to buy collectibles are burnt and never enter circulation because they go directly to VeVe and Ecomi, meaning that they're no longer available to be purchased in the secondary market. Whereas purchases that are made with gems in the secondary market, only a percentage of those gems are burnt, not the 100% that are burnt in the primary market. So those gems remain in circulation. And for argument's sake, that would be the amount that should every single person on the app elect to withdraw every single dollar, and every single person KYC'd and met the minimum withdrawal restrictions of $1,000, this is the amount of gems that would be left over. And I want to give a huge shout out to Puddin Cheeks for helping me out with this, because it really does illustrate the fact that I believe VeVe has a handle on this, and they've implemented the measures in place right now to ensure that they are effectively able to manage any gem withdrawals that may be happening in the short term. So as we can see here, the numbers that we've already referenced, the 315 million gem purchased, the total spent in store, and the 132 million gems that are currently estimated in the app. We can see here that VeVe loses 30% of all of the total gems purchased, so that they've lost about $94.7 million in the last year to App Store fees. So for those of you that think that the web app is not a priority for them, they have 94 million reasons to make sure that they roll out the web app as quickly and efficiently as possible, because this is money that could end up in their pockets, which is why I also believe that the web app is a big priority for them, and we will see the web app sooner rather than later. So we've seen the App Store fees. The licensor revenue, once again, is just an estimate in between the 30 and 50. So 40% of the total spent in store is about $73 million in licensor revenue. And the total fees that VeVe has paid between these two is $168 million. So now what we can do is we can take the total fees that VeVe has spent, the $168 million, and we can deduct it from the $315 million in gems that were purchased, and we're left with a company cash flow of $147,634,871. Now, why is this important? Why does this number matter? Now, I know some of you may say, well, it sounds like VeVe's made a ton of money. They're a very greedy company. They haven't given back to their users. But it's important to understand that while this is cash flow, it is still dedicated to different things that they have to do. They have to pay their employees any overhead that they have, any royalties for licensors that may not be included in primary licensor revenue. So we don't know what that percentage is. A lot of tech companies try and keep it between 10 and 15%. So we'll call it 20 to 25 million of this is earmarked specifically to company expenses and revenue. So there's $132 million worth of gems in the app. So if every single person elected to make a run on the app and had $1,000 each in their accounts, bearing in mind that there's a $50,000 a week maximum withdrawal, we can see that VeVe would actually be cash flow positive even if all $132 million worth of gems were cashed out. VeVe would still have approximately $15 million net positive to ensure that they could cover the float for all gems that have been purchased in the app. Now, it's important to remember once again that you need 1,000 gems to cash out, and it's a 50,000 gem maximum per week. And even financial institutions, banks, they don't keep every dollar that they've made in revenue available to them in the bank. If you go to the bank, your money's not physically sitting in the vault. That bank goes out and spends that money, they reinvest it on different things so that they can increase their cash flow and make as much money for them as possible. So it's likely that their spreadsheet does not say that they have $147 million in cash in the bank right now. In all likelihood, it's probably 90% less than that. However, it does go to show that they have made the revenue to ensure that they can cover the fees that would be associated with withdrawal. And remember that of this estimated gems in app, there is a 10% fee associated with it. So it would be $13 million less that would actually be withdrawn. I do believe that once the web app comes out, we will see a reduction in the MTL withdrawal fee. I do believe many people will also take advantage of Omi to NFT. However, in the short term, it does go to show that VeVe is taking the steps and precautions necessary to make sure that they can address this concern of MTL cash out, and that when it does come out and it is available for users, we understand why that fee is in place in the short term to offset that revenue generation that they are not making and to make sure that they are as cash flow positive or neutral as possible. Guys, I know it was a little bit of a longer video, but I haven't made a video in a while, and I felt it was really important to go over this with all of you. I know MTL and cash out has been a topic on a lot of people's minds recently, a lot of whens, a lot of people are waiting for a lot of these things to finally come to fruition. I'm really looking forward to the next quarter or two. I do believe that VeVe has a lot of big things coming on the back burner. I do believe Ecomi is working on a lot of things behind the scenes as well. I look forward to seeing everything that they are able to roll out, and I do look forward to covering all of the exciting things that are coming in the future for each and every one of you. Once again, thank you for all the support. I do apologize for being gone for so long. Expect more regular content from me moving forward. Thank you for the support. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. I love you all. Peace.